See, Vivian Stringer retired, and now Rutgers has its new head coach. It's an old Big Ten head coach, Coquise Washington. Washington was in charge at Penn State for a dozen years, from 2007 to 2019. She won 3 Big Ten regular season titles and made 4 NCAA tournaments. The last 2 years, she's been an associate head coach at Notre Dame women's program.
Mental health is the most important aspect of you. It's more important than athletic success and academic success. It's extremely important to know it's okay to take a break sometimes if you need, and just talk to your support system, talk to your coaching staff. They're a lot more understanding than maybe you'd think. And it is definitely not weak and takes a lot of courage to accept and say that it's okay that I'm not okay right now and maybe I need to take a step back for a little bit.
Concept of it being okay to not be okay is an important part of mental health, and that's such an important mission for the Big Ten. Adam Neuman is joining us on Mental Health Awareness Month to talk more about this. Adam, how is the Big Ten as a conference as a whole approaching Mental Health Awareness Month?
I think we're, attacking it with a lot of vigor and really trying to ensure that our practitioners on campus are getting their voices out there to talk about all the wonderful things that they're doing on campus. But not only that they're doing, but that the conference is doing. And in May of 2019, the conference established the first ever mental health and wellness cabinet. And it was a vision of the commissioners. Commissioner Warren had spoken about mental health even prior to accepting the job as the commissioner of the Big Ten Conference. And the idea there being was to ask the presidents, ask the chancellors, ask the athletic directors, identify 2 people on your campus. Don't have to be necessarily psychologists or psychiatrists, although we do have those on our mental health and wellness cabinet. We have an athletic director on our mental health and wellness cabinet. We have senior women administrators. We have social workers. We have all sorts of different practitioners. And the idea is we should meet monthly to discuss the issues of mental health and wellness. I can't echo what was just said on the broadcast right before me even more. It's okay to not be okay, and the conference is proud to be leading in those efforts.
This has been something that has clearly been important to Kevin Warren from day one when he took the job a couple years ago. What is it about his past that has made this so important to him?
Yes, the commissioner was in a near-death experience at a very young age as a young boy growing up in Arizona. He was struck by a car and he flew through the air, and I guess by the grace of God was spared. And the doctor basically gave him no hope of walking, let alone having a collegiate athletic career ever again. But the one thing the doctor did insist on is if you could have a pool that you could regularly swim in because of the low resistance, that would be an ability to maybe gain back some of your strength, even a moderate ability of that strength. And the commissioner used the settlement money, half of that settlement money, and he built his own pool in his backyard. And he swam and he swam, and he actually posted the bike that he had on his shed to look at for motivation, the bike that he was struck with when he was hit by a car. And from that moment on, he started realizing that it wasn't just his physicality that was ailing, it was also his emotional, his mental state. And when he was in the hospital throughout his entire recovery, and boy, did he recover as a Division I athlete at the University of Pennsylvania and Grand Canyon University as a very, very wonderful basketball player. The commissioner also noted that none of the doctors really ever asked him or inquired about his mental state. And it really stuck with him that there just wasn't speech, there wasn't vernacular around those issues in a way that it needed to be done. So I think he took that to home and understood that as he went along his career, it would be critical to emphasize mental health and wellness wherever he was.
So it's clearly been something that has been important to him for a long time. But we as a society have been through a lot the last 2+ years with COVID-19. How has the pandemic affected the way that we've thought perhaps about mental health and awareness?
I think the pandemic has really highlighted the loneliness. We saw some of our student athletes that had to travel abroad, that had to go home, that were stuck in quarantine. It really exacerbated some of these issues that we all knew were in existence, but the pandemic really fleshed it out in new ways. And that's why the conference was so insistent on pushing out the call map to 19,000 individuals. So all of our student athletes, all of our senior women administrators, all of our faculty athletic reps, all of our chancellors and presidents, all of the people in our Big Ten ecosystem, every full-time staff member of our athletic departments has access to a 24/7 meditation, relaxation, sleep app called the Calm app that really has helped people feel better about themselves, because there are all these self-help tools on this application that allow people to really dive into issues that can help with their mental health. And I think one of the most powerful things a student athlete once told me, and I will, reserve the name for her anonymity, she said to me that just recognition of the Calm app on her phone, not even pressing the button necessarily, not even doing one of the LeBron James exercises that's in the app, just knowledge that the app is on the phone meant to her that the Big Ten Conference cared, that the conference as a whole collectively stood for something more than wins and losses, that they really cared about their student athletes. It's been a tremendous success. The commissioner renewed the subscription this past May, and we are nearing, believe it or not, 1 million total sessions. And just to give you a little bit of breakdown of the analytics there, these are not downloads that no one listens to. These are actual sessions that we can verify have been listened to for 3 to 4 minutes or more, And to think that in 2 short years that we've done almost 1 million in total sessions probably indicates to you exactly, what mental health means to our student athletes and to our staff at large.
How much are there still misperceptions about mental health these days?
I think misperceptions really do remain. When you think about stigma and stomping out that stigma, it's critical. Folks still feel somewhat embarrassed to say I'm seeking therapy, or I need to be with my family, or I need to maybe take medication, or I need exercise, or I need friendship or companionship. It's just not as easy. I recall one of the coaches of the Big Ten at Purdue had once told me, we need to ensure that seeking help for mental health is very similar to a hamstring strain. In the same way that you would never feel awkward about saying, I have a hamstring strain, I need certain, alleviation, I need some sort of help for that type of hamstring strain from a doctor, we should feel something very similar when it comes to our mental health, whether it's having a bad day or whether it's depression. There are so many pieces about mental health that are so idiosyncratic. They're very specific to the person. There is no one size fits all. But one thing that is size fits all is that we must reduce stigma. And speaking about this on Big Ten Network, that's why this is a pleasure to chair the Mental Health Awareness Cabinet. To talk with Commissioner Warren every day about mental health and wellness of our student athletes, that's an honor to be able to do that every single day. That the fact that the Big Ten Network is hosting some of our practitioners, that the conference hired Dr. Jim Borchers as the chief medical officer, these are the type of things we need to do to say, wow, this is just like anything else. This doesn't need to be treated in such a, wow, it's such a hidden, it's such a way that we can't really speak about it, because that only exacerbates the issue. When people feel like they can't talk about it, when they can't say it's not okay to not be okay, that really hurts and it buries them in a deeper hole. And that's not our goal. Our goal is for our student athletes to leave campus after 3 or 4 years, have the time of their lives, and use that experience as a launching pad for the rest of their lives and say, the way the Big Ten Conference operates business, that's how I want to practice for the rest of my life. The way that I learned to shake hands after a game, that's how I want to show sportsmanship for the rest of my life. The way that the Big Ten cares about mental health and wellness, that's the type of sensitivity I want to provide to my peers, to my fellow student athletes, to my kids one day. That's the goal of what we're doing. We're building, we're helping prepare these kids for life.
Adam Neuman from the Big Ten Conference. Thanks so much for your time, Adam. We appreciate hearing all this stuff. It's pretty important things for everybody all around.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Northwestern women were great in the NCAA softball tournament this past week. They hosted the regional there in Evanston, and they won every game. Opened the weekend by beating Oakland, then took down McNeese on Saturday and again on Sunday in a rematch. Following the successful weekend, the Cats will face 8-seed Arizona State in Tempe, Arizona. Yeah, this looks pretty darn good, huh? When Cochran sealed it, we were all Grace Nieto inside, jumping in the air, thrilled that the Wildcats got the victory. They were so good this weekend, and we're happy to bring in Grace Nieto right now to talk about that Northwestern softball team. The second baseman for the Wildcats is with us. Grace, 5 for 7 for you in the Evanston Regional. How did a regional game feel compared to other games?
It was really special. I just felt like really happy to be there. The support from our fans and everyone that came out to support us was incredible. And it was a really big stage, but I felt like all the seniors were there to really help all the underclassmen through with understanding how to stay composed in this big stage. And I think that's a big reason why we were all so successful this weekend.
What advice did those seniors give about that?
staying in the moment, having some good first steps on every pitch, focusing on one pitch at a time, and just having fun and being ourselves.
How much did having that home crowd behind you matter?
It mattered a ton. Knowing that the entire Evanston community was behind us was a really big piece in just how we performed and how much fun we had, because we knew that everyone was watching and we just wanted to have fun.
The funny thing, too, is it did not matter for other teams. I assume you saw a lot of upsets nationally.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, it worked for you guys in your home crowd for sure. Do you think your team got the appropriate amount of respect, nationally speaking, as you deserved this year?
I think that the respect that other people give us doesn't really matter. It's honestly about like who we are and how we are as a team with each other. I think people can say what they want to say about us, good or bad, but it doesn't take away from how we perform or how we do, because we are a team that's so connected and we have such amazing chemistry that doesn't come outside of this team. So thinking about what other people are saying or doing doesn't really matter or affect us.
Grace, that's as good an answer as I've ever heard to that question. Well done.
You.
Well done. Let me ask you about some of your teammates. How do you describe Danielle Williams?
Amazing. Like, she is honestly the greatest player and person I've ever seen. She is so nice and she is so good. Like, she is composed and like strong in every situation. Even if it's bases loaded, nobody out, she is completely like such a good leader on the field, and she's a very silent leader as well. So it's very helpful to have someone like that in the circle, especially
all the accolades she's piled up and her talent. I've heard she's as confident as anyone. If you had to give the confidence award on your team, who would it go to?
I think Skylar Schellmeyer would get the confidence award just because of how she acts. She is very outgoing and lively and super fun to play with. So I think she would definitely get the confidence award.
If you had to, in a game, hit against Danielle Williams, what would your strategy be?
Oh, I would, honestly, I'm glad I don't. But I would just try to attack early and try to hit the ball that's over the plate and go with that. But honestly, she's really good, so I'm not really sure.
We've talked about those seniors you have on your team. How does that affect what the clubhouse is like?
It just like makes it a very family-oriented team. It feels like the upperclassmen have really like been there, done that, so they understand what all the underclassmen were and still are going through. Like, this is my first time in regionals. I'm not really sure like what's it going to be like, but you have all these upperclassmen that are directing you and really being just like good people and just very like a family to you.
You mentioned this is your first one of these. Why did you choose Northwestern?
The culture, for sure. These coaches, when I stepped on campus, were so unique and such a family-oriented culture. I know I've been saying that, but it really is just like there's so much love to go around on this team, and it's so incredible to be a part of. And I feel like I got so lucky that I get to play here. So I'm just really happy that I was given the opportunity to come to such a great school. And obviously the academics and the softball is incredible. So I'm just glad to be here for so many reasons.
And it's working out. You guys are off to the Super Regionals. This past weekend when you won the regionals, how long were you allowed to celebrate?
I think we got like a couple hours worth of just like, woo, like, yay, we did it. Like, we were pretty excited after that, but I think the next morning we woke up and realized that we got a really big week in front of us, and this is just another step in our journey to get where we want to go.
How did you celebrate? Did we stay in the clubhouse? Did we go home? What'd you guys do?
We just stayed in the clubhouse. We just hung out with each other. We just had fun. We just, in the locker room, just having fun with each other.
Super regionals are next. Whether it's Coach Drohan or the seniors, what have you been told about super regionals?
We have been very focused on one game at a time. So for the majority of this postseason, we were very focused on regionals and our first game against Oakland. And then after we played Oakland, we were very focused on McNeese. So we're very focused on one game at a time. So I haven't heard a ton about super regionals. I know that from what I've heard from the upperclassmen recently, that it's just a very big stage, but it's softball. Like, it's the same thing that I've been doing this whole year. Nothing really changes, just what's at stake. So, yeah.
You know, a couple weeks ago, I talked with Kate Drohan, and I said, what's the biggest thing you want your team to do? And she said, I want our team to remember at all times to be where your feet are. How has she manifested that to you guys?
She has done an incredible job of helping us stay where our feet are, because yeah, you can have coaches tell you to do certain things, but if you don't know how, you won't be able to do them. But she's very focused on like having a very good first step on this pitch and getting the first out, and focusing on just Oakland's pitchers when we had like 4 possible teams that we could have played in regionals. So a lot of the information that her and all the coaching staff gives us is really beneficial to us being where our feet are.
Arizona State is up next for the Wildcats. Grace Nieto, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck against the Sun Devils.
Thank you.
Mark, this Friday starts the 3-day championships for NCAA rowing. How many of these have you participated in before?
Around 20, I think. I'm not sure exact number, but somewhere in the low 20s, I think.
What are they like?
It's a lot of fun. I mean, obviously, it's all the best teams from around the country, and it's a 3-day regatta. So you have heats on Friday, semifinals on Saturday, and then the finals on Sunday.
How does it mentally compare to a regular competition during the season?
Yeah, I mean, the big difference is you've got to race on Friday. You got to have your best race all 3 days, because the depth of each of the field is especially this year, is such that if you don't have a good race on Friday, you're not going to move on to the semifinal. And then if you don't have a good race on Saturday, you're not going to move on to the final Sunday. So you have to really be ready to go 3 days in a row. So fitness is a huge component. The teams that have a good fitness base have a big advantage over our normal competitions, which are typically 1 day.
And I assume, you know, a lot of this stuff, it's just what you've done throughout the year. But are there little things during this week, whether it's your diet or the way that the kids sleep or anything like that, that is extra important to you?
Yeah, I mean, we go into a pretty big taper where we cut back on the volume. So typically we might do 180 to 190K in a week, and we're down to just over 100 now. And so we really dial back on the volume, and we really emphasize recovery and hydration. And Caroline Mendel, our dietitian, comes on this trip, and she's terrific. And just looking at all the little ways to gain advantage. Heat acclimation also is a big one for this regatta because we're down in Florida. So getting used to the heat is also big.
So explain that, because that was my next question. How different are the race conditions than it'll be not only in Florida, but in late May?
Yeah, I mean, being from Michigan, we don't see warm weather typically until May, maybe. And so we're going from practicing in 50-degree weather, 60-degree weather to 90-degree weather. And it's a big difference, and it takes your body time to acclimate to that. And so we did some things back in Ann Arbor, and now we're down training in Florida now, getting ready. So that's a big component. most of the teams here are not warm weather schools. So there are some, but most are not used to the heat and humidity of Florida.
You said you did some things in Ann Arbor to try to prepare for the heat. What sort of things can you do?
Well, we got lucky. We had some warm weather. And so we did some afternoon sessions in the heat of the day outside on the ergometer and just had them rowing in the heat. So, just to acclimate and get used to it.
And what are you doing this week down there?
Just our normal training, but it's been warm in the mornings and then hot in the afternoon. So we've been rowing in the afternoons to get used to, to acclimate their bodies to the heat.
In the Big Ten championships, you had what became rather quickly kind of famous, a literal photo finish. How many times have you been a part of something where it felt like where you literally had to go down to a photo to see who won or not?
It's not uncommon. I mean, it's especially at NCAA championships, it seems like it happens every year. Somewhere in the final or in the semifinal, you'll see that kind of result where it's so close they have to look at the photo. But it's those are the kind of races you love to be in, those really tight, close races. And obviously you like to come on the right side of it, but it's just great to see that kind of competition.
See, I was going to ask you what it's like to go through that, because if you talk to some basketball players and you give them the option of losing on a half-court buzzer beater at the end of a game or losing by 40 points in a blowout, some people would say it's better to lose in the blowout, that the heartbreak of that last second thing sticks with you longer. How would you answer that? Would you rather be a photo finish loss, or would you rather have been way out of it?
No, I'd rather be in a photo finish because that means you're competitive. It's obviously, it's really hard when you lose a close race like that. And, I think you always want to be as fast as possible. And that's all. We really talk a lot to our athletes about, just focusing on what you can control, be the best you can be in your lane. And if you do that, you give yourself the best chance to win.
You've been at Michigan since the 1990s. What feels most different now versus back when you started?
The sport has grown tremendously. I mean, if you look at the field, there's teams that didn't even have programs when I started that are now competing for national championships. And the Big Ten has just gotten stronger and stronger each year. The other conferences like the SEC and the Big 12, like those are conferences that didn't really have much representation, and now they do. The ACC also has gotten a lot stronger. So it's just a very different field. The depth of the competition is really, really strong.
What are the reasons behind the growth of the sport?
Well, I think universities, many universities decided that rowing was a great option for their athletic department. It's a great sport. It's a relatively big sport in terms of participation. And, so I think people, you take a school like Michigan or Ohio State, or, you make a decision, okay, we're going to elevate rowing. It's going to be good because, you're at Michigan and that's the expectation. And so I think that they put the resources in, and it's sort of like, if you build it, they will come. They built it, they created it, and we got competitive relatively fast, and we've stayed that way.
Last thing for you, Mark, final 30 seconds. You're an Ann Arbor native. Give me a hidden gem in that town, someplace I got to go to that I might not know of.
Wow. There's a lot of gems in Ann Arbor, but you probably said this, but Zingerman's.
Sure.
Zingerman's is the place to go. I love that place. But there's it's just one thing about Ann Arbor, there's so many parks, and like I would say the Arboretum, going there and just going for a walk. That's my wife and I do that all the time. Along with our daughter, like we love going there, take our dogs. And but I just think Ann Arbor's, it's the best. It's the coolest city. And I've been to almost, I feel like I've been to just about every college town, and it's a biased opinion, but I don't think there's a better place.
Yeah, it's one of the best for sure. Mark Rothstein, head coach at Michigan Rowing. Thanks for your time. Best of luck this weekend at NCAAs.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
He is our big interview, and he's joining us here in our Chicago studios. So you are in Chicago right now, basically have been for weeks getting ready for the draft. What's a normal day like for you?
Yeah, so we usually work out in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I usually go to the office for a little bit, work on stuff with the people over there. I'll go lift in the afternoon, shoot in the afternoon, and then the rest of the day is pretty much to recover and then repeat it the next day.
So you're going to the office, you're filing TPS reports? I'm confused. What office are we talking about?
It's just the office for our agency, marketing stuff, things like that. So just working on those things, draft suits, things like that.
Draft suits?
It's nothing crazy.
Wait, well, let's go here. Let's go here. What are the options you turn down for draft suits?
The options? I don't know. For me, I'm not doing anything crazy, but I think I'll look pretty good. So.
Do you know what it is? Are you locked in?
I have an idea, but I have a pretty good idea.
We're keeping this hush-hush, it seems.
Yeah, hush.
You can tell me. Nobody's watching. It's just you and me. What are we wearing? We're going to have like a cool inner lining?
There'll be something. It'll be special. It'll be special to me, so.
You were tight-lipped, Mark. Tight-lipped. What's been the most fun part, whether it's picking out a suit or meeting with a GM that maybe you know? What's been the most fun part about the last few weeks?
Yeah, I think for me is interacting with like the coaches and the GMs you see on TV and have looked up to and seen them do great things in the NBA. So I got to do that last week, and I thought that was a really cool experience, but also just working out every day with the rest of our pre-draft guys and creating relationships with them. I think that's a pretty cool thing so far.
Give me an example of someone, a player, a coach, a GM, that you're like, that was pretty cool, I got to hang out with them.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Thibodeau was a cool one just because, I mean, he's been with the Bulls for a while, and he's a really well-known coach, and just kind of interacting with him, I thought it was a really cool experience. When
you have these interactions, do you get the vibe you're trying to impress them, or they're kind of trying to impress you?
For me, I just try to create relationships with them. For me, it's not really about impressing or another, just creating relationships with different GMs, different organizations, because you never know what could happen. So for me, I feel like if there's a two-way communication, just keep a good conversation.
So I'm fascinated by that, because have you been told that if you make a good relationship, that might sway something? Because my assumption would always be, if I'm in their shoes, I'm just taking who I think is the best player available. Have you been told that can be swayed?
Well, I haven't been told anything. For me, it's just my personal opinion, just being able to, because you never know what could happen in the future in the NBA. There's lots of trades, free agencies, so just creating good relationships with every single organization is, for me, just a big thing and what I want to do in my career. So.
What if a year ago I would have said you'd be in this position? Would you have believed it?
For me, I believe hard work can take you anywhere. So for me, I feel like I put in the work, and I tried to focus on the college season as much as I could and just keep a level head through that. But for me, I knew I'd be something special. So.
But this was a huge leap forward you took this year. Were you having these, even in your biggest of dreams, were you having these visions, or was it sort of like, I'll try to get good playing time next year and we'll see where that goes? Yeah,
for me, I knew I'd have the ball in my hands a lot more. I'm going into my sophomore year, so I really just took it one game at a time. Didn't matter who we were playing. I just wanted to put my best foot forward, not focus on the future, but focus on the present.
When did it strike you, oh, I'm going to be okay this year?
Yeah, I think it was not this year, but my freshman year, kind of towards the end of the year when I started playing more, starting a little bit more, and I started getting trust around the organization. And for me, I thought that the end of that year kind of leaped me forward into my sophomore year.
One of our analysts, Sean, I remember last year, it was like late February, early March, he was like, I'm telling you, Keegan Murray, I'm telling you. Like, he saw that coming right away. That's really interesting. You saw it too, right around that time.
Yeah.
When you talk to these pros in the NBA, what are the positives that they've said about you or your game?
Yeah, my versatility. I feel like with my size, I'm able to play different positions in the post, mid-post, and on the wing. So, and be able to knock down shots. So just my versatility is a big factor because it's almost a positionless game in the NBA at this point. So that's kind of a positive that I've took from those conversations.
What are the critiques, the things they either say they're worried about or they want you to work on?
Yeah, just establishing myself more on defense. This year, my offense kind of overshadowed my defense a little bit. So for me, I feel like defense is more about effort and just keeping that hard hat on and not letting the other guy across from me score. So I feel like I had a good defensive year this year, but I feel like I can take another leap in that genre.
Sounds like, you should be, call Fran McCaffrey. That's not me, call him. I ran his system, right?
Yeah, no, he was a great coach. I mean,
great,
we played a lot better this year, so.
What, if I made you pick a favorite memory from this past year at Iowa? You had a lot to pick from. What would it be?
I'd probably say just our run at the end of the year. I think we won 12 out of the last 14 or 13 out of our last 15, but just our run at the end of the year and then end up winning the Big Ten championship. I feel like because we haven't done that since 2006, and for me to kind of be a hometown kid and be a leader on that team to bring us a championship, I feel like that was just really special for me and also the state of Iowa.
The tournament was quite a scene when you guys won.
Yeah, four games in 4 days is tough, but I mean we're 100% going into the championship,
So you're moving on. We mentioned you've been in Chicago for a few weeks. You're going to be here for a few more. It's a slightly bigger city than Iowa City.
Yeah.
Did I read you had guacamole for the first time ever?
Yeah, I know.
What, your first time ever? They have avocados available in Iowa.
Yeah. I don't really venture out much when it comes to eating, but my trainer Kyle took me to Hub 51 and got nachos and there was guacamole, and it was pretty good. So.
Free pub for Hub 51 when you're in the city. Go. Okay, so we're a fan.
Yeah.
Guacamole is a plus for us now.
Yeah.
Tell me about your brother. What's the deal? Is he coming back? You can tell me. You can just tell me. What's he doing?
I don't know. That's his decision. For him, he's still going through the process, getting feedback, and obviously there's a week or so left for him to make a decision. And if you ask me, I don't really know, but if you ask him, he doesn't really know. So he's just taking it one day at a time, and if there's opportunity, there's opportunity, but for him, he's just going through the process right now.
If he comes back, how good could he be next year?
He'll be really good. I think he's taking that leap this year, just playing with us in the pre-draft and going through that. So I feel like he can take a leap next year. Hopefully Andy puts him in his top 20 players. So
yeah, we can make a call to Katz, see what he says about that. We're running out of time, so we got to let you go. But there's baseball happening on our air. You know any of the Hawkeyes baseball players well?
Yeah, I know. Keegan Anthony, freshman of the year.
That's right.
He's had a really special year. A couple days ago, they won 30-16. So I mean. They're a special team, resilient, so we'll see where they go.
Well, how about this? You can see your Hawkeyes play first Wednesday on our air when the Big Ten baseball tournament begins. It'll be Penn State against Iowa, 10 Eastern, 9 Central Time. Keegan Murray, how about that? Okay, there's 5 seconds left, so tell me, where are you going to go in the draft?
The middle of the pick.